So we'll be back around there later. Okay. Not that particular area, but the view that you had.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah. This is different. Different. Very different. Where we're going, shaped tail, they wiggle it about, they've got the white breast and the white eyebrows. If you get close enough to see them, they're very cute. Very, very talkative birds as well. The Pitjantjatjara name most of their birds. If you're a bit of a bird nerd like me, sorry, Dale, can I get you to just pop onto the track again? Sorry, no, you're right, just revegetation areas. I'm pretty strict about that, the rules. I'll let you know if you're in the wrong spot. The two brothers I was talking about before, the Palala brothers in that story, they're the two hunters in the Dungara story, that's the sound that the crested bellbird makes, Palala. Yeah. The zebra finches are called the ninis because they make that neat sound. So very, very recognisable. And Pitjantjatjara is the same thing. She's the gossip girl. She's known as the gossip girl. She'll repeat things you say and perhaps not to your liking either. Maybe haven't given her permission. Ananu women will walk past this side with their hand over their mouths. Just in case, and certainly if they see a willy wagtail up in a tree, they will walk past in silence. They don't want anything repeated that nobody else needs to hear. And she does repeat everything you say. I'll prove it to you.
Oh, there you
go. There you go. Pitjantjatjara. So we're going to move on. That's pretty much it. So if you want to give that a shot as we walk past, somebody always wants to give it a go when I got my back turned. Give it a shot. So it's not a hot fire. Buffalo grass burns hot, so it destroys everything. It doesn't allow it to regenerate or
Oh, yeah.
It's making lots of noise as usual. That's our willy wagtail woman. Okay, you're here. It's great. This is where we continue our Kunya and Liru story, and we haven't been introduced to Liru just yet, but we're about to be. Kunya, you've seen her slithering across Uluru. She's coming to this point here, and she's pretty upset. She knows something's going wrong with her nephew. She doesn't know what, and she's about to find out, or at least some of the story anyway. She's come and she has her pity with her, but she also has a wana, which is a digging stick. And some of you may have seen that before, heard of that before. It's a woman's digging stick. They're two tools that they use as gatherers. And Kunya's come all this way. She gets to this point here and she meets Liru. And Liru is the Wati Liru, so the male man. He's a man, Wati Liru. And she meets him here and he's the elder of the Liru warrior tribe. Basically, the Liru warriors have come here. They're a bit of what we as Westerners would call a war party, but the Ananu don't have a system of war really that we can recognise as Westerners or whitefellas. They're more like a punishment party, if that's probably a better term. And they've come here, and Liru is the elder of that tribe, and Kunya knows that Liru's pretty wise. He's got all the information. He's the kind of person that knows people who knows people, and she meets him here. And all that Liru can divulge is that her nephew, or Kunya Wadi, the boy version of Kunya, has been wounded, which basically means that punishment party has ceremoniously speared her nephew for breaking chukurpa, breaking the law. Yeah. So Kunya's nephew's broken the law. We don't know what it is. We've got a few theories. I can tell you that later, what the theories are. But breaking chukurpa is a pretty serious offence. And essentially back then, the party would spear you. One of those spears would hit you, preferably in the thigh, somewhere fleshy, somewhere that can heal properly, no vital organs, hopefully. You pretty much have to stand there and take it like a man. Yeah? Yeah, lovely. But once that happens, that's it. Your punishment is over. The person that has speared you, it's their responsibility. There's Junjuntapa. Sorry, really back to distraction. Basically, that person that's speedy has the responsibility to heal you, to look after you, to bring you, to restore you to health. Yeah. Everybody's really important in these tribes, in these families. Everybody has their place. You don't really want to lose somebody unnecessarily. Essentially, everybody has their place and their role, and there's not a lot of people around as well. So you want to preserve life as much as possible. It's all about survival. So essentially, this hasn't happened to Kunya's nephew, which is also breaking Chukupa. So the Liru warriors have broken Chukupa as well. Kunya is furious. In fact, she's so furious, she's spitting this poisonous phlegm. Yeah, Woma pythons aren't poisonous, but she's magical. Yeah, and this phlegm is full of magic. It's full of sadness, anger, grievance, and she's picking up. She's actually gone down on her knees, and those are her knees there in that love heart shape there. Can you see that love heart shape? Yeah, yeah. Her knees are in the dirt there inside of Uluru. Her wana stick is that hole there. That's next to the love heart. Can you see that? It's perfectly round. That's where she's put her wana in the side of Uluru. And see that love heart on this side here, like finger marks. This is Kunya in her human form / snake form, taking up the dirt on the side of Uluru. And this magic, this phlegm, this sort of poison, a mix of emotions, is turning it to dust. And she's pouring it down the side of Uluru, which is that staining on the side there. And she keeps pouring it down. It's this act of trying to control her emotions. She's getting pretty feisty at this point. This is where our story comes to a bit of a climax. She's begging Liru at this stage to tell her what's going on, and she's got a fair idea. She knows her nephew's wounded. She doesn't know if he's alive or dead. She doesn't know a whole bunch of things. And Liru pretty much laughs in her face and says, "Too bad, Kunya, secret men's business." And she's not impressed. And this is where our story comes to a climax, but can't finish it here. It's not the right chukaricha. So I'm going to have to, this is a to be continued. What I will tell you about this area, you can see that love heart up here. This is a bit of a love story. Nothing like a love story. There's Junjunta, she's listening in on my story. She's heard it many times before, I gather. The first white fellow to come out here was a man called William Christie Goss. When he came out here, he named this Uluru, Ayers Rock, after his boss in South Australia, the Governor of South Australia, Sir Henry Ayers. What's little known is that he was interested in his daughter, Maggie Ayers. And when he came here, they were sort of dating. I don't know, sort of, they were hitting it off. Obviously, she was back home in Adelaide. But he got to this point, and it was kind of a romantic moment. He saw this waterhole, which has only been empty 3 times in the last 100 years. Fairly consistent source of water, the most consistent source of water out here. He looked at it and he thought it was a spring because it's such a good source of water. It's just a natural water course, but we'll give him credit for that. He's looked up at that love heart and he's thought of Maggie. So he's called this Maggie Springs. Now, like most love stories, there's got a bit of tragedy in it. He's gone back to Adelaide after all his, magnificent explorations and discoveries. And Maggie's married somebody else. But, she was right in saying that the rock just wasn't big enough. Sorry guys, it'll only be a couple of minutes. Well, more than that. Welcome to Kanju Gorge. I love Kanju Gorge. There's this real sense of serenity. I think it's because of these sheer walls. But a lot of people come in here and go, oh, it feels like a cathedral. And I think there's an element to that, absolutely, those very high walls. But I think it's also because there's water present, and the indigenous people, the Uluru, when they would come here, they would be silent. And I think that carries through just in terms of the area. I think, that's my opinion anyway. This is a very good area for hunting, as is Mudurjulu Waterhole, or it was at one stage. There's only one way in and one way out. Very useful for hunting. And you can see that there's this crack in the wall, and it comes all the way down, and you can see almost this little cave at the bottom here. And that little cave just there is about the equivalent to the modern day 3-man tent.
Right.
You can fit a couple of older fellows in there, so uncles, fathers, grandfathers, and the younger kids or the younger men, they were just initiated, would pretty much just live out up against the wall, essentially, camp out there. And this was the work experience place, just in terms of the ease of getting your first kill and learning how to hunt and using the resources around you. And Kanju certainly is very peaceful and quiet. So as a hunter, as a new hunter, absolute silence in this area. Absolute silence. The boys would stand up against the walls with their hands up. And this is pretty much for a few things. Signals, So I'm pretty sure that's emu, this kangaroo, many, and they would signal to each other. But it's also, instead of doing this, it's the bringing of the hands down to get the spear, very, very slow, so it's not startling the animal. There's all these practical applications to these hunting techniques I'm about to tell you, but there's also, what I call spiritual applications. It sounds a bit corny, but what I mean, essentially the indigenous people have an affinity with the land and everything around them. Essentially, we have this theory of evolution and hierarchy within our system, but their belief is that they're just as important as a tree, as the rock, as the kangaroo, as the dirt. We're all equal, So, in terms of their hunting, it very much applies. They'll say that we've got 3 kangaroos here, and they're all having a drink. It's a perfect place to hunt because everyone, all mammals need a drink, so it's good. Got their attention essentially. They'll come here to drink. They'll wait for the first 2 to leave, and then they'll go out for that last one. And this has a couple of applications. One, whoever's drinking the last is generally the slowest. But there's also the application. Is that Mustang still running around?
Yeah. That's a big one. It's a big one.
Is it the hopping mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit fatty. There's another one there too.
Yeah. They're everywhere. Lots of feed and water around. They probably won't be drinking the water though, I'd say. Anyway, I'll get to that in a second. The kangaroos, the one that's drinking last is certainly the slowest, so easier to catch. But their belief is that you'd want your last drink before you died, don't you? Might not be water, but it'll be nice to have a last drink before you go. Same for the kangaroo. It's their right, it's their privilege to have a last drink of water before they go. And there's also the application that if they went for all 3 kangaroos at once and one of them got away, that kangaroo is going to go back and tell his mob not to come back. Like, hey mate, same if there was an axe murderer here. Uluru, none of you would travel here. There was some freaky axe murderer around trying to get you all. And it's the same in that hunting aspect too. They'd say, that kangaroo would go back to his mates and say, don't go back to Kanju, because there's some guys who want to eat you. And it's the same, that application is basically survival, fundamental survival. You don't want to sacrifice a massive food source like that. And you certainly don't want to, leave blood lying on the sand. You'll scoop up any blood that's spilt, take it on the other side of Uluru. You won't skin or gut any of the animal here. You'll do it on the other side of Uluru. Basically, any kangaroo who comes back here can smell his dead mate and not going to come back. So, lots and lots of techniques that have both the application of that affinity, but also hunting techniques as well. Those caves sort of around Mudurjulu Waterhole that look sheltered, that we didn't really go to, but you probably spied, they're the ones that you'd probably skin an animal, prepare an animal, because it's almost like a refrigeration process. No direct sunlight into those caves, and for most of the day, so it generally stays cool. But you wouldn't hunt out here for too much food. You'd basically get whatever you need just to survive, There's no hunting for sport. It's not a game. It's survival. So lots of applications, but this water is now no longer drinkable. Can't swim in any of these water holes either. Basically, it's because of the climb. And that climb, there's no rubbish bins up there, there's no toilets, and it tends to be that people will do all sorts of things up there, and I'm not just talking about urinate. They do all sorts of things up there. It's 2.5 hour return, and people just can't wait sometimes. So all the rubbish, human waste, all that kind of stuff does wash down. Wayne was saying yesterday that after a summer rain, it's a wet season, after the build-up over winter, because it's our dry season over winter, some of the first rains, you know, all the kids from the Uluru community would go out for a swim. One, not too long ago, last year, they got pretty sick after swimming in there, and so now they've banned it all. So it's kind of sad. The rangers tell us there's a massive amount of E. coli. We do have tadpoles in there though, in this one. This is the burrowing frog, which basically is kind of a little bit gross. I kind of get the heebie-jeebies, but I don't know, somebody might like frogs. These frogs live underneath this sand until there's rain. So they can live up to 9 years if there's a drought without water. They'll live underneath the ground dormant, and they'll live in a cocoon of their own dead skin. And then when it rains, they'll eat that cocoon. Yeah, I know. And then they'll pop out. And they basically live for one thing. Who doesn't? Mate and then die, essentially. Yeah. So they're the tadpoles of the burrowing frog. This is a lovely, lovely place. We've got some slaty backs. There we go, slaty backs. So they're fairy martins. There we go, fairy martins. They're tiny, tiny little birds. Yeah. Making lots and lots of noise as well. If you'd like a moment or two to have a bit of silence, this is a really nice area for just kind of going. Hopefully no planes, helicopters will be walking up the path. It's a bit hard, but it's sometimes they say the sound of silence.